Let me welcome you. Good afternoon. So let me welcome you from Georgia. And let me congratulate on the second day of successful event organized by Sparta International Pegaso University. I'm very happy and honored at the same time to be a lecturer for this university and to be chairing the session of information technology nowadays, which is a very just buzz topic in our educational reality. The first speaker will be from Germany. Mr. Daniel Simon Sheps from Pegaso International University, Malta, and the topic of his presentation will be tail light position in digitization, an analysis of a decentralized tax administration based on the Digital European Society Index. So floor is yours, dear Daniel. As far as I know, he's going to show us video. So floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, we are going to have a look at my video, and after this, then I will tell you something about my motivation in detail and about the current situation as an introduction for the topic information technology.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
Hello and welcome to my presentation, Germany, Taillight Position in Digitization and Analysis of a Decentralized Tax Administration based on the Digital European Society Index. First of all, I would like to tell you something about my motivation for the research project. So, as you might know, digitization is taking place in all areas of public administration. Even in the tax administration, we have some digital solutions, such as social networks, machine learning to interpret data or tax law, artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, or blockchain technologies. Some people call this digital transformation. But to understand it better, we have to consider two different forms of tax administrations. A centralized form, where responsibility and enforcement is on one state level, and a decentralized form, where the taxes and tax law competencies are divided. If we have a look at the table, we can see that Germany has an outstanding role in Europe because it has the only decentralized tax administration. And even countries like Austria or Belgium that have federalistic aspects too, they choose to have a centralized tax administration. And now my motivation is to see if this choice of Germany to have a decentralized tax administration has a negative impact on the digitization. So one way to compare the countries in Europe is the five-step model that is developed according to the Ernst & Young model of 2017. What we can see here are 5 steps of the digitization for countries in Europe. The first step is the electronic file and the last step is the electronic assess. But except of Russia, all the countries that are having a decentralized tax administration, we see them bold marked. They are not playing a leading role in digitization. And even Austria and Belgium, they are on the same level as Germany. So we can say that this model does not really help us to answer the question if the decentralized tax administration has a negative impact. We have to get more information and we have to find another model. The European Commission is publishing every year the Digital Economy and Society Index. The latest one is for 2019. There we will find the chapter Digital Public Services and we will see that Germany is only on rank 21st of all European member states. That means in the bottom third. And we will see also that there are 5 categories standing for 5 different indicators for the digitization. But for the tax administration, we have to remove the last indicator, open data, because normally tax data is always protected as sensitive data by law or data protection law. And therefore, in the following, we have to speak about an adapted digital economy society index that is the mean of all remaining indicators. The adapted value shows us how well a country is performing regarding digitization. If we have this adapted value for 2019, we can link it with the gross domestic product per capita and so include a country's prosperity. At the picture, the dotted line shows us the European Union average. It is the ratio of the gross domestic product and the adapted value. Then we have two groups of countries. The green area shows a progressive situation regarding digitalization, and the red area shows a lack of digitization. And furthermore, with the black square here, we can show that there is no country with same high GDP and low adapted index. So the situation in Germany is the worst. Another way to show this is the graphic area, which is the product of the gross domestic product and the adapted value. The smaller the area, the more efficiently resources are used for digitization. And here we see that Estonia, for example, has a very small area, so it is performing very well. And on the other hand, we have Germany that has the largest area, the red area here, and so the performance is really bad. Finally, if we compare these areas, we can talk about the relative digitization efficiency, and we will also see that Germany is far below the European Union average, so it has a substantial need for investment in digitization. So what we found out is that Germany has the worst position within all European Union member states. Normally, Germany has the money to invest more in digitization, but it does not at the moment. Maybe because of some structural disadvantages resulting from the decentralized tax administration. So in the future, we have to have a look at all the other countries having a decentralized tax administration and also have a look at the disadvantages, for example, resulting from a complicated tax law. So thank you very much for your attention and enjoy the conference. See you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, the floor is yours again. As far as I remember, Daniel was going to give some background.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I would like to tell you something about the motivation again. So I'm working in the German parliament for the chairwoman of the financial committee, and my daily business is taxes. So I'm working on taxes and looking at the situation in the tax administration. And there we noticed the bad situation of Germany, and we were asking how is this possible? Because we have 28 member states in Europe and other countries like Malta, for example, or Lithuania, especially the very small countries, they have a better performance. And we have many problems with the 16 several tax administrations in Germany because they are like 16 different countries. And as you can imagine, it is like the problems we all know from Europe. If you want to get 16 different people on the table and find a decision, it is very hard to find this. And for the digitization and information technology, we need a better position. We need more unity and a common way to go forward in order to implement the technologies. And the coronavirus situation now has shown that there is a huge demand for digital solutions. You might agree to this. And especially for information technology, not only in the education section, also in the public administration and also in the tax administration. And we can see that we have better players in Europe. For example, I give you 3 examples. Spain, for example, in the coronavirus situation, you could have some video chats with your tax administration in order to ask questions about your taxes. Or Lithuania, they have chatbots. They are answering your questions in 25 different languages, 24/7 hours a day. But we in Germany, we don't have this. And even Italy, for example, sometimes we know Italy, that is a country, is not so fast in some things. But regarding taxes, Italy has a very good performance, and we have there 2 things that are outstanding. They use the electronic invoice, for example, and they have Sistema di Intercambio, it's called. And with this system, Italy is better in the performance regarding information technology. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. So I would like to invite maybe attendees to ask questions for discussion. We have just 4 minutes for this part of presentation. If there are questions, you're welcome. Or you can write in the chat box. It can be discussed later. If you don't have questions, we can wait until the end. No questions?
I can maybe ask one. Since Italy has been somehow quoted, I would like to say yes, it is true. You refer to taxes. Italy is trying to make taxes, let's say, PC friendly. But having direct experience of these things, I can tell you that there's one big thing that is not working. And when people put on these softwares, these applications, they seem to lack one basic intuition, which means that it doesn't mean that you just let the software do all the work. What happens is that a lot of people get confused about the way the applications are proposed, how to use them. Sometimes these applications don't work because the middleware is not updated. So what is really lacking whenever you put on these informatic systems, and it is not a case that they're working well with small communities. So I would like to somehow say that the challenge for countries that have 50, 60, 70, 80 million people is much more, hard. It's harder for big states. What you need to do is to have like a tailor-made assistance always available. So whenever you have a problem, you have to be able to, you can sort yourself very quickly, which is not the case because you're left alone sometimes to rattle your brains and trying to find out something which is pretty impossible. So the help desks, the continuous assistance is something that it is not working at all. Maybe because it is costly.
Yeah, that's thank you very much for this. That's exactly what my question was in the research. If a country has a very huge prosperity and has a lot of money to invest, like Germany or Italy or Spain, and as you say, maybe 50 million or 80 million inhabitants, but can we expect that such a country invests more in information technology? Because we always say, yeah, it is very easy for Lithuania and Estonia because they are small countries, and that is making it easy. But on the other side, Germany, Italy, Spain, they have the money to invest, but they do not. And we have to...
The answer is yes, invest, but not in information, in informatics or applications, to make them understood and usable by the users, trying to think, from the side of the users, which is never made. So put yourself in the shoes of like a senior that is not familiar with the computer, and now we have problems for our taxes administrations as not an updated Java platform. And I try to sort myself because I'm pretty skilled and somehow I could see the light, but other people couldn't, and no one gives them any information about that.
Yeah, that is a very good issue, and I thank you for this, because we have, at my work, we have this problem too. We have a lot of elderly people that say we are not willing to use digital tech solutions like chatbots or information technology for transferring text protocols, but and the constitution law forces us to respect this. We cannot force people, older people, to do everything in a digital way. That is to respect. But on the other hand, we have an economy in Germany and other countries, and they are going forward and they are implementing more and more digital solutions. And we, as a public administration, we have to find an answer to this. We cannot say to the companies, it's nice that you are going this way and you are investing in digital, in information technology, but you cannot use in communicating with us, in transferring the text stuff. So you see, this is it is hard, I understand, for some people, But if you agree to this, I would say there is no other way than going forward. And that means we have to accept that information technology is our future. But we
Yes,
can discuss this, though.
I agree, but you have to make
Thank
it
you.
friendly.
Sure.
Thank you to the presenter, to the attendees for this very hot discussion. But I think the time is not allowing us, so we need to move to the second speaker. But of course, we can continue if there is time, like at the end of the session. Thank you very much,
thank you.
Daniel. So, and I'm going to announce another second speaker for the session of information technology, Professor Gino Fontana. And the floor is yours, so Mr. Fontana. And as far as I know, the presentation will be about like artificial intelligence, which is very, I have to say, again, a very hot issue, yes. And it will be like, again, played on the video. Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me at this international conference. My name is Gino Fontana. I'm talking from Italy. I'm in my laboratory in the south of Italy. Colleague, rector, PhD student, the coronavirus changed the world. And the people of science have an important mission for building the structure, the framework of the new society. My research is very complex because it touches various hermeneutic science. The classic science and the new science, for instance, the neuroeconomy, neuroscience, and cybernetic, and the other part of the new approach of system to support the artificial intelligence. For understand what is the artificial intelligence, we must make important distinctions between the brain and the intelligence. For understand what is this, the artificial intelligence, we must have an important approach, and this question is old. In the 1913, Alan Turing had an important intuition and formulate an answer. Building the Turing test. Today, for understand if the machine thinks, we use it the test of Alan Turing. I think that my study is minority in the system of development, the artificial intelligence, because we have two lines of development: the engineering development and the physiologic development of the artificial intelligence. But for understand the study and the process for building the artificial intelligence, we must make a model at the basic of artificial intelligence. The model is picture of the society. I think that the system for building artificial intelligence have a big problem, the basic problem, because the society contains a lot stereotype. In my experiment, I administered 2,000 people at anonymous test. This test contain a lot stereotype. Well, 2,000 people in two groups. The first group 18, 13 years old, and the second group, the 36, 50 old. 50-50 men and women. And on the right of the subject, there is a watch. The watch measures the time for answer the questions, and we analyze this date. And propose this date in this table. Table 1 and table 2, and this is the graphic for understand the process of the stereotype in for two group, and this is this in table 3 we have the time, the average time for answer the questions. Everywhere we have a neutral questions, and now for instance in the ask number 6 for understand the reaction of the people, of the subject participate in an experiment. The result is a very shocking for the particular date, because I analyze this date, and I think that the community is contaminated, all the stereotype, and a part of discrimination, and a part of discrimination is inside the society. And the model is the picture of the society, and probably we have in the system of artificial intelligence, in the agent, artificial agent contains the stereotype inside the society. I think that for have a system of a good system of development of artificial intelligence, because I am a man of this century, and probably the artificial intelligence is the best goal of this century. But I think that the system of regulation and application is very dangerous for the society. In fact, the system of regulation, the system of the right is very liquid, and we must have a system of autonomy for analyze the application, for analyze the application, and the non-discrimination, forever non-discrimination system of artificial intelligence. This is a little part of a big research, and I am very happy to speak with the other men of science for have a new approach of the model of the artificial intelligence. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you, dear Mr. Fontana, for your video presentation. The audience members.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours. You have just maybe 4 more minutes left. If you would like to comment, or if from audience members, anyone would like to ask question or like comment on
there is
the
a question
topic.
in
Yeah.
chat, so I suppose
In the chat. So I will read the question from Daniels. What dangers do you see for the society resulting from the artificial intelligence? Dear Mr. Fontana, would you try to answer?
I think probably a system of discrimination in the face of the application of the artificial intelligence and the system of mass. The artificial intelligence is a very best goal for this for the technology, but is very dangerous for in the for the practical application. It's necessary have a system of government autonomy authority for have a vigilance of about the application of artificial intelligence in general. Thanks. Nasıl diyor?
Tama, we can't hear you.
Sorry. So thank you once again. So thank you to the speaker, Mr. Fontana. And the next speaker will be Giacomo Certino from Italy, Picasso International University, Malta. And the topic of the presentation is related to virtual tutorials as an emerging precondition for a new wave of international tourist management. So, dear Mr. Giacomo.
Can you see the presentation on screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
The floor is yours. Good luck.
The floor, yes, you just said the title, Virtual Tutoring as an Emerging Precondition for a New Wave of International Tourism, Education and Conduct. This session is about information technology applied to education. Then I will start with some, of course, this is a work which is based on a study group that has for a long time, of course, promoted online education's efficiency because of its flexibility to supply knowledge to wider audiences in a lifelong approach. Of course, the pandemics have even accelerated this educational transition, making it often mandatory for traditional institutions. So our contribution now is more focused like on a sector because as an operator in international cooperation, we have and development themes, we have focused in the latest year on tourism. The tourism sector is the strongest inducer and very often underrated potential inducer of growth worldwide, and in one with the benefits that it brings to within the intrinsic mission of reducing social distances. So we're speaking about the tourism sector as the target of our research, of our educational approach. Before the pandemics, we were studying for quite a long time the enormous unexploited potential of thematic countryside tourism. Whereas thematic can decline into interactive, can decline into thematic itself, can decline into 0 mile. So whatever is creating a new approach of shooter tourism to discover the territories and their potentials. In particular, we studied the huge unexploited potential of this thematic tourism, which is based and characterized by nature and heritage exploration in a sustainable and economic way. There's a cycle of seminars, so those of you that are interested, you can maybe remain in contact after that we have developed in the years 2017 and 18 on this subject. And one very important finding that emerged from these seminars that were made for the Pegaso University were in the data emerging from the metric principles of the United Nations WTO, the World Tourism Organization, which is the tourism satellite accounting measurements. Whereas we saw that partly an approach like the one we are describing of thematic and tutor tourism in the countrysides was applied in the Lombardy region. You all know that in the year 2015, Milan hosted the International Expo, but it was not just an experience that was confined to one town. It was an experience that spread all over the region. And because of that, we have some, for those of you who are interested, there's some tables that we present here at a general national level, regional level, and province level comparisons. This approach, which was very much based on the accountancy idea about local purchases, was the approach that made the region become, for the first time in its life, the top ranking region in terms of incoming tourism, international incoming tourism. So we had an evidence that having a new approach toward this tourism could really benefit the region that was adopting these strategies. Now, the pandemics. So pandemics means segregation measures, and of course, it's worstly affecting a sector which is based on removing social physical distances. So we have a big challenge ahead of us now. And the size of this challenge is in the numbers. Maybe some of you know that pre-COVID tourism estimates set the level of GNP related to tourism in advanced countries about more than 100% of all the national GNPs. I'm speaking of countries like the USA, France, Spain, and Italy, and a considerable role was played by international incoming tourism. But also less advanced countries like in Africa were experiencing strong increase in the sector. So we definitely have to rethink the educational approach toward tourism management and also the national productive organization. The path that we are taking well before the pandemic then appears now extremely important because these countryside-based, thematic, interactive, sustainable patterns are suitable with the principles on which a restorative tourism could be possible. Because you just imagine that you're speaking about tourism, it's restarting by small tutor groups scattered in the territory. So intrinsically, it has all the characteristics to preserve the contact with large urban centers, which doesn't mean that urban centers are not involved, but you start from the rural to go to the towns instead of the reversal, which was the ordinary approach. And this paradigm is supported by the most authoritative global source of directives regarding tourism. At the end of September last, the United Nations World Tourism Organization issued recommendations on the tourism rural development. And if you have a chance to take a look at this document, which is quoted in my slides, you will see that we are speaking exactly about that. So put the rural at the center of the restart of tourism, because tourism is vital for the economies. Then also the European Union, of course, before COVID and now after COVID, is somehow following these directives. We can refer to the Smart Villages Action, which had tourism as one of the main focuses, and the related financial instruments, such as the LEADER instrument, which is based on the so-called community-led development. But this was mostly based at those times for stemming the countryside progressive depopulation and supporting sustainable local development programs. Now it has become a must for other reasons. And last May, the European Union adopted another section of actions called Time to Fork, supporting specifically zero-mile healthy food cycle practices to support rural tourism. As a research group, we are into the Smart Rural Tourism Project, which is a European-financed Erasmus set of projects. And just to end my presentation, I will give you a few elements of how this educational project is working. It is still in progress, of course, so we are speaking about something that is in the doing, but it is not exactly in place yet. Smart Rural, there's two tables I want to show you. Just let's touch upon the yellow highlights. The main goal is to implement a MOOC platform aimed at short-term education for an European, so to say, patent for smart rural tourism, just the way we have a patent for the computer. I skipped the other details. And the other highlight is tourism and economy students are not the only target of this educational experience, but also all the rural local stakeholders, which means community people and the farmers. So the type of approach that this didactics must have is attuned to the wider characteristic of its audience. Now the four things that are the pillars of the new conduct of business, which is inspired by this online evolved type of education, is cater to community-led initiatives to build brand image and territory consciousness of his heritage and the natural identity, thematic and tutored itineraries, of course, whereas the virtual tools, but not only virtual tools, are a necessary element not only for the educational phase, but also for the following expected, let's say, managerial progress that is expected from this educational inputs. The use of smart solutions then declines into very many other, let's say, tools like enhancement reality kits, not just so the payments or the bookings that already happen on the web, but also when you are on the spot, online games, virtual positioning, no positioning, online rating instrument, etc. What is very important is the last part. The ingredients of this educational program and the expected results are rely on two basic elements. If we have to restart with tutors from the countryside, it has to be accessible, which means that there must be no barriers for people carrying handicaps, and it has to be sustainable. So the WWF still is involved in our project. So we want tourism to be sustainable because we want that the tourism becomes a patrimony, becomes an asset of the territories, and it is involved in the protection of the territory. Sustainability, accessibility. And now, there are already some similar initiatives. Maybe some of you know about the culture trip site or the itinerary, which are respectively based in the UK and Belgium, which somehow suggest these soft, sustainable, environmentally conscious, and discovery itineraries all over the world. And we're speaking about a practical implementation of these educational suggestions that we are already trying to put in place as an association. It's called Tutor, whereas Tutor Italy can be also Tutor Slovenia, Tutor Belgium. As you see, I leave you now, but there are some final slides where you can have an example of these draft itineraries that we are preparing. The elements of this practical proposals resulting from the preparation, the regulations, and the educational suggestions that I described to you can be summarized in those last yellow highlight elements I give you. Requires countryside, one-night sleeps in proximity of big international towns within a range of 100 miles. Although independent is very important, the association platform is somehow linked to the business system with a system of additional membership fees in proportion of the size of the business procured. And last but not least, we have to be very qualitative. So there's some requirements that must be fulfilled by the rural host. Full fluency in English, continuous virtual tutoring, basic web tools, availability of fast web connection. This is very important for many reasons. At least at the stage, in the places where the stage, as we call them, happen, because most of these proposals are interactive. If those of you who want to have more details, we can connect and I can talk later. I'll give you all the references to go to the draft website that we put in place. And the draft website comes also with some just itineraries that are being prepared with hosts someplace that are participating. In most cases, you see there's always an interaction is foreseen. So we not just suggest you to go and see a place, but to go and do something there. Do not just go there and eat something good, but learn the ingredients, the certified origin ingredients that make up the cuisine suggestion, and come in the kitchen and learn to cook these things. So, and what is important is that we are suggesting and involving people also from Ghana, Nigeria, and other African countries to try and conceive and let's say put in place similar itineraries in their territories with the same characteristics. This in Ghana, for instance, is about the slavery history. Maybe some of you know that UNESCO has 2 sites, the Elmina Castle in Ghana, because this was one of the main hubs where the slaves in the old centuries used to be captured and then brought to America, basically for doing their jobs. And so this is about the rediscovery of the African culture from the times of slavery, and in one of those the most fast developing countries, most modern small African countries, which Ghana is proud to be. And there's also something regarding Nigeria. This is the end of my presentation. I'm now available for any comments.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Giacomo, for your very interesting presentation. And this is like a very important topic. If there are just some questions or comments, we have just 1 minute or 2 minutes left. Any questions? So, any questions or comments? Or you can write in the chat later on, as I see now. So, in this case, we can proceed to another speakers presenting like topic about readings from the book of Mankind, Donating Data for Peace. So presenter will be Stephan Klinger, together with Milan Mijalkovic from Makedonia, artist. So floor is yours, dear Mr. Klinger. So you can share the slide and start presenting.
So, thank you very much. Tama, do you see the presentation?
Yes, we see it.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, thank you very much and welcome to our presentation, Readings from the Book of Mankind, Donating Data for Peace. I'm very glad to give this presentation together with Milan Mijalkovic, who is an artist, because artists, or in general the arts and science and also sometimes religion, fulfill some quite same desires of the human beings, the desire for metaphysics or for understanding what's happening there. Regarding the happening here, we definitely follow a very naive and positive approach, but we want to show you a different picture about the data and the technology that we have here. structure in messy data. What you see here is, I think, one of the world's most or highly applied biometric identity scheme. It was developed in India, the Aadhaar system. They succeeded in less than 10 years to store all the data, all the biometric data, all the demographic data of, I think, 95 or 98% of the Indian population. And I'm not talking about the urban areas, I'm talking also about the rural areas, into a big database. And with the difference to China, where they also make use it for primarily for the government, in India, this is more or less open source. It's in a large register, quite comparable to our European registers for companies or land ownership, for example. Everybody can access it. And when you access it, according to one of these QI codes there, then you will find all the demographic data, all the documents or scanned documents of the people there. You will find the 10 fingerprints of the people. You will find the retina scans of the iris, and you will also find some measurement of the morphology of the face there. And they succeeded in this in less than 10 years. Structured data. Second thing, the translating system on the internet got better and better, especially at that point of time when IBM and later on Google stopped their approach to structure the data before they do something with that. So beforehand, they were working with translators and tried to give some kind of a word-to-word translation. And most of the sentences didn't really make sense. But when they stopped searching for structures or structuring the data, and they changed their approach, and they included structure in their algorithms and trained them to search for structure in messy data, this definitely made a difference. They started with the minutes of the Canadian Parliament because the minutes of the Canadian Parliament are bilingual, English and French, and therefore they just trained the algorithm, find some good matches there, and then they had some translators also correcting it, and then they ended up in the European Parliament, with much more different languages and multilingual translations. And so the algorithms are training themselves nowadays on the web pages of large business corporations, because all their financial statement reports are done in many, many different languages worldwide. And so this is where the algorithms train themselves, and they search for correlations. Not so much about the cause, what is the cause for the proper translation for that word, they search for correlations. One example regarding the correlations is the example of the New York building inspectors. There was a report in Cukier, MayerSchoenberger in the Journal for Foreign Affairs from the director of the New York building inspectors, and like many other heads in worldwide of authorities, he had the problem. He had too many buildings to check on and to make some on-site inspections on, and too few people. And then there was another budget cut, and then he said, okay, my dear government of New York, I want to have an expert in big data. I want to have some guy who is really good in statistics. And because data protection in the United States is somehow different than to our thing here in Europe, they provided this statistics big data guy also with all the data from all the authorities in the greater New York area. So the port authorities, police, fire brigade, the town hall, the tax authorities, everything. It was a big cloud of data. And the task of this researcher, of this big data expert, was just to find correlations. And he calculated. And after a couple of months, he came back to the director of the New York building inspectors and said, job is done. I found two very strong correlations. The one is the strongest negative correlation, and then I also encountered the strongest positive correlation. The strongest negative correlation was if this building has a permission for a specific exterior brickworking that is supposed to be very fire resistant. And this was the strongest negative correlation with any problem in the building. And the strongest positive correlation was number of times that the police has to drive to this address. It was not any other things like we would tend to say, okay, this makes sense. Like if there is a subway going down under the building, if there is some geothermal tectonic plate or anything like that, it was the police. The number that the police comes to a specific address. Yeah? This is, according to the statistics, the strongest correlation to any problem in this building, despite be it fire or be it somehow a collapse of the building. And the New York building inspector boss did not really understand what was the cause for that, but he just gave it a try. He mended the whole on-site inspection plans. And after, I think it was 3 years or something, the success rate or the results rate of the on-site inspection shot up from 15% beforehand to 75% after this measurement. He didn't really understand why. He didn't know the cause. But he found out by just looking on the correlations and following the advice of the big data correlation, he could be more powerful in doing his job there. Milan, what do you say?
And I, Milan Mijalkovic from Makedonien, reply. Only when the multitude, the masses, the vast majority, also in terms of vast amounts of data, have sovereignty over chance, over randomness. Only then can there be proper governance. Only then can there finally be fair rule. Randomness will finally be conquered. When Cukier, when Fortuna, and the exalted gods of randomness have been foiled, then responsibility will be gone forever, and guilt will finally be gone. In truth, we have endeavored to avoid this through our ancestors, through the observation of birds, stones, or stars. We have shifted responsibility to clouds, bones, oracles, kings, stock exchanges, pools, markets, or God himself. The people as a whole have tried it too and called it democracy, but guilt was constant and always there because randomness wanted it that way, since tyranny and randomness were one and the same.
What can be such a book of mankind? What you see here is maybe just one first idea of the book of mankind. When you turn on Google and when you insert the first 3-4 characters, Google seems to know you better every day, yeah, with this automatic composition method. At least it is the case with me. When we extrapolate this power, what Google nowadays has, based on correlations, not on the cause, we could imagine maybe that after a couple of years where Apple or any other company stores all the data on all the devices worldwide, and the software is powerful enough that it can really search for all those for all those data that we as human beings donate or deliver to Google, Apple, whosoever, maybe to all ourselves. Maybe this will be a database where we can calculate based on correlations our actions, our decisions. Maybe this could be a book of humankind where we can find out that we are really equal. Because when we all donate our data and the data is calculated and gives us some indication based on correlations for our actions, for our decisions, for example, maybe we can really see, okay, it was quite nice to search for the cause of actions, since the Enlightenment, but just following the correlation makes us much more powerful as human beings. And maybe this book of mankind could be encrypted and engrafted somehow into our personality, pretty much like we know from the old Tautauierung, like from this Maori mystery that we have here. Maybe this book of mankind, we can find the similarities and consistencies of human actions. Maybe we would be able to see our actions are more effective when we follow this correlation. Milan, for a final, please.
Now the decisions will come on their own because the people, because humankind is finally choosing the right system, the egalitarian system. But this system is not democracy, it's statistics. If statistics makes it possible for us to make decisions before the democratic choice itself, when the right decision, the real solution is in our pockets, at our fingertips, then the decision will be universal, the decision will be 100% correct. The decision will be 100% correct. And only then will the sick, the lazy, the ineffective, the unproductive, the obnoxious, the lost, the sinful, the in-debt, the murderous, the secretive, the dishonest, and the devil himself will be gone. There will be no longer be the sick or the blind, because statistics is the computer. It is a machine. Flavius Philostratus, the sophist, knew. For the gods perceive what lies in the future, and man, what is going on before them, and the wise, what is approaching. It is not gods or man that foresee the approaching, but the machines. The wise ones are the computers, the statistics, the correlations, the data, and the archives. We now need to truly learn to love computers, learn how to sacrifice for them, sacrifice our data, and then the gods will love us. Only then will there finally be peace. The data belongs to everyone. Data belongs to everyone. Data for peace.
Applause.
So applause. Thank you very much to this very just elevated presentation about data protection, and it's like a very just interesting and like extraordinary manner. I think that we all only have like 1 minute for question or comment from the audience member. So if there are any, you are welcome. But I think it's like it was really just maybe climax of the day of conference day. If there are no comments, just maybe we can thank the speakers for presenting this like just very interesting topic in a very interesting and elevated manner. Thank you very much and good luck. So, and our next presenter will be from Pegaso International University, a fellow colleague of mine, Roberta Aloca.
Hello.
So, yes, it's my pleasure to be meeting you here, yes, online. And the topic will be about, again, related to the world after COVID-19, yes, and
Yes.
again, damages and benefits of trials in the battle against the virus. Floor is
Yes.
yours. Roberta, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we see.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon. I'm Roberta Locca. I'm a PhD student from Pegaso Online University in Italy. And I want to tell you something about the situation of COVID-19, in particular about damages and benefits of trials in battle against coronavirus. But let me start with some important steps about the beginning of the pandemic, because as we know, in November 2019, the new coronavirus began to spread in China, from Wuhan, the most populated city in the eastern part of the country. And in January 2020, thanks to the first research due to the sharp increase in cases of infections, we have first notices about a common factor for those infected, which was the frequent attendance of the Wuhan seafood wholesale market in Wuhan, which was promptly closed due to the hypothesis that infection had been caused by some animal products. At the end of January, the World Health Organization specified the transformation of the risk from moderate to high, declaring the public health emergency of international interest, and the answer to this critical situation have been found by various governments in generalized forms of lockdown, lasting about 2 months. This was the only way to bring the contagion curve back below the threshold of tolerability by healthcare institutions, and since the end of summer, there are again increasing cases of COVID-19 in major countries around the world, which will require new efforts in coming months about the struggle against the infection, waiting for vaccine trials. Let me go on, sorry. I have some problems with slides.
Can you press on the presentation mode, Roberta? On presentation mode.
I tried.
Right, but yes, it will be better. No worries.
Do you see the first
We just
page?
see the first one.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe if you press on the presentation mode.
Sorry. Technical problems about technology.
Yes, it happens. I think F5 for presentation mode. It's next to the percentage.
Okay.
On the left of the percentage.
What do you see now? Sorry.
So it measures to contrast contagion.
Okay, perfect.
I think it's okay.
Okay. I have to tell you something about measures to control contagion and their relationship with the protection of fundamental rights, because the spread of COVID-19 epidemic has created a general obligation for the states and competent international organizations to introduce measures as widespread and effective as possible in order to limit the contagion and mitigate its pressing effects. So there were a lot of restrictions on the full enjoyment of individual rights. For example, imposition of quarantine or enforced hospitalization have configured an example of limitation of the right to personal freedom. as well as the creation of the famous red zones has impacted on freedom of movement. And these rights, generally guaranteed by the international systems of states, as well as by the international treaties that protect them, find the same regulatory sources the possibility of introducing restrictions on full exercise of individual rights, in accordance with the imperative need to guarantee the protection of collective interest. So we have some regulatory sources, some important sources. For example, the European Convention on the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, which says in Article 5, that no one may be restricted except to list a number of exceptions, including regular detention of a person likely to spread a contagion disease. And the same thing is written in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the wake of these statements, numerous conventions have established a series of foundations to justify the admissibility of restrictions on the exercise of fundamental rights, if they are provided for by law, addressed and necessary to the pursuit of a legitimate purpose. So what is very important in this sense is to find a balance between the objective they are intended to achieve and the right they are intended to limit. So there are two fundamental requirements. The first is the particular level of gravity that the public emergency situation should reflect. And the second element of a temporal nature, characterizing the notion of public emergency in the imminence and actuality of the danger in which it would materialize. But let me pass to the actual COVID situation in the world, because we know that that is a global epidemiological situation, and according to the data collected by the World Health Organization since the last weekly epidemiological update issued on the 5th of October, over 2 million new cases and 39,000 deaths of COVID have been reported across all 6 World Health Organization regions. This is the highest number reported cases so far in a single week, and from the 3rd of December throughout 11 October, over 37 million COVID cases and 1 million on deaths have been reported globally. So we have some images, in the following diagram. There's the distribution of COVID-19 cases worldwide recorded by the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control from the beginning of the pandemic until 13th of October 2020. And this is the situation divided for the different regions. So Africa, Europe, America, and so on. And in the following image, there is the situation, the geographic distribution of 14-day cumulative number of reported cases for 100,000 population worldwide. So the most important point actually is the situation of trials for the vaccine. So in this sense, technology is fundamental because vaccines typically require years of research and testing before they reach the clinic. But scientists are rushing to produce a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine by next year. There are 44 vaccines testing in clinical trials in humans, and at least 92 preclinical vaccines are being actively investigated in animals. Work began in January when was coded the genome of SARS-CoV, and the first tests on the safety of vaccines in humans began in March, and now we have 10 that have reached the final stages of testing. We know that vaccines go through a 3-step clinical trial process before they are sent to regulatory agencies for approval. But even after a vaccine has been... Sorry? Sorry? Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. I was... showing you the situation of trials, and even after a vaccine has been approved, it faces potential obstacles when it comes to increasing production and distribution. And given the urgent need, some vaccine developers are compressing the clinical process for SARS-CoV by running some trial phases. And the director of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease in USA, Anthony Fauci, said independent data and safety monitoring committee can terminate studies early if their interim results are predominantly positive or negative. But what about the benefits and drawbacks of ATC trials? The COVID pandemic is a major challenge for billions of people and countries worldwide. Impacts on health, economy, society, and everyday life are extreme. So we all have the hope of returning to normalcy that rests largely upon discovery of a safe vaccine and effective treatments for these cases of COVID. But among the different solutions proposed by the science and the technology, there are also human challenges trials, HCT, that involve the international infection of research participants and can accelerate or improve vaccine development by rapidly providing estimates of vaccine safety and efficacy. So during an HCT trial, a group of volunteers are intentionally infected with the contagious agent to determine whether a vaccine candidate is effective or not. For the novel coronavirus, two groups would be intentionally infected with the virus, and in cases where no vaccine is currently available for a disease, a placebo-controlled study is considered the only way to obtain reliable answers on the effectiveness of the candidate vaccine. There are two particular advantages over the method of waiting for a random infection. The first is that research can determine whether a vaccine candidate is effective or not more quickly. And the second is that a smaller group of participants is needed. But from an ethical perspective, infective, healthy individuals with a potentially fatal disease for which there is no treatment is not justifiable. So on the one hand, the accelerated development of a safe vaccine could lead to benefits like significantly fewer COVID-19 deaths and significantly lower social and economic burdens globally. But on the other hand, the risks to research participants are uncertain, with the possibility of being extremely grievous. Plus, additional risks might be encountered by the third parties. So this divergence makes the ethical review of COVID HCT extremely challenging. But the testing of a potential vaccine against COVID is a global race against time, and time is the unknown that we would all like to see revealed as soon as possible. The strong coordinating rule assumed by World Health Organization, which has standardized the procedures to evaluate clinical trials, and allowed to speed up procedures by allowing researchers to travel parallel lanes, ensure a substantial cut in time without reducing safety margins. But obviously, this acceleration involves costs, and so we know that about 70% of research for the future anti-COVID vaccine is based on private investment. But the support of governments and academic centers remains crucial. In conclusion, we hope everything will be all right as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Roberta. Yes, for this, I have to say, this topic, which is like relevant, applicable to everyone, is equally all around the world, because we are all in this together. So we have just 1-2 minutes for questions, maybe to the presenter from attendees, or maybe if you can comment on this hottest topic. Any comments, any questions? This is the run now. So in this case, let us thank you once again, dear Roberta, and let us give the floor to the final presenter technologies to Professor Valery Dermol. Yeah, as far as I'm just, yes, correct with my agenda. From Slovenia, and the topic will be usage of digital teaching resources and SMAs, yes, project TV. So DigiWet. So floor is yours. Yes.
No, I moved this presentation to other, I already did it.
Really? So
yeah, because now I have a next session and I don't have time because I have to switch to so I little bit changed the schedule. So
so okay, no problem. So, but sorry for not knowing this.
Yeah.
But if there are, so if in this case, this means that we can just wrap up our session and a bit earlier. But before maybe closing the session, we can, we will be lucky more than just thankful if you can comment, maybe just contribute to the already made presentations. Yes.
I like all the presentations because they were very interesting. So the first four of them really focused on IT, and the last one on the most hot topic.
Yes.
This conference and also in the world at the moment. So it was really nice. I will remember the fourth presentation. So Milan.
Yeah.
Milan and Stephan, Stephan Klinger aus Wien. So it was really spectacular. The presentation.
It was very spectacular, yes.
Yeah, okay. And I invite them to come, so also to the conference, the next year conference, and we will, I promise that we will give them applause, so
yes.
they deserve.
But we can also applaud you. So.
Yeah. Okay, so Tamar, thank you again for.
It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure to chair the session, which is not directly related to my research interests, but today I presented about incorporating ICT in ESP learning because I'm working on the education of English for specific purposes. But it was my great pleasure to be listening to the participants with very insightful and very just time relevant presentations, and good luck with the research goals and objectives, and it was my pleasure. If you have any comments, you can just make or no.
Now it's the time because in a few minutes I will close the session. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, it was happy to be meeting you here online, but next time I will be more than happy to be just getting introduced with you in person in Malta after
Me too.
COVID-19 pandemic. The same. So have a nice day. Have a nice evening, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.